All right, everybody. Welcome to your safety briefing. This should be a review for most of it, but there are a few things that that I don't think we've covered in class. But let me make this easy for you. Why don't you have this video running in one window, and then maybe on your laptop, pull up the quiz on Canvas and take it while you watch the video. And pause if you want. Those kind of strategies work pretty good. All right, first question. What two things need to happen if the fire alarm goes off while you're in jewelry? First thing, we need to shut off the gas. And right here by my desk, okay, is the emergency gas shut-off valve. And basically what it does is if you push it in, that's all it needs. And all the gas is shut off to the whole soldering room, and the gas won't keep burning. That will shut off all the torches on the inside of the room, and just pretty well locks it down, which is great. Anybody can shut it off. After you get that shut off, or make sure it's turned off, then we evacuate and leave the building. All right. Question number 2. What's the most dangerous cause of injury, or the most common? Hopefully not the most common, but is horseplay. So just goofing off in the room, doing stupid stuff with tools that can hurt somebody. That's where accidents happen. So if we don't horse around, we don't have the problems. All right. Question number 3. What's the most common injury in the jewelry classroom? Well, that's cuts and burns. Cuts, the only thing that's ever cut me in my jewelry class is a broken saw blade, as I've been using it in the hand saw, and that is about it. But other things can cut you, so you just need to be careful. Burns, if you're using the buffer, okay, the buffer here, that can create heat through friction, but then also the torches in the soldering room, they can obviously burn you. So you got to be careful of those. Cuts and burns. All right, number 4. If you get cut, what should you do first, and what should you do second? The first thing you should do is put pressure on the cut so that it stops bleeding. We don't want you bleeding all over. Hopefully it's not that bad, right? Just a little prick, most often a little prick of the finger. And the second thing, I want to know about it, or if in the off chance that there's a sub here, make sure that you let them know, because we don't want to get an email the next day that says, hey, my kid got cut, now I've got to go blah 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 to the doctor. We don't want to be blindsided by that, so let us know. We can help you. All right. If for some reason somebody passes out for whatever reason, what do we do? And the question here, why do we elevate their legs? So it's because we want to get oxygen back to their brain. That helps them to not be passed out for very long, hopefully. And then we can help them in other ways. All right. So let's go in the soldering room next. Question number 6. What is the approximate temperature of the oxygen acetylene torch? And that is this one that we use right here for casting. It's quite a bit larger than what you'll use for soldering every day. This has 2 hoses to it, okay? And the approximate temperature is about 6,300 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's pretty warm, right? All right. When you're in the soldering room, what is the 5-second rule? The 5-second rule has nothing to do with eating stuff, so don't eat anything in here. What it means is if the gas is on your torch, okay, you've turned it on, and you can't get it to light for whatever reason, we don't want acetylene spewing out into the room. So if you can't get it lit in 5 seconds, then what you do is you turn it off and you turn the ventilation on. That's these little switches right back here. They're in between each of the bays. Turn it on, and the exhaust functions just like that, but it's loud, so we're not going to keep it on. All right, next question. I think this is number 8. Why are we only to use copper tongs in the pickle bath? And you're thinking, what the heck is a pickle bath? This right here, this little crock pot right here next to the sink, is where we will heat up or warm up some stuff called the pickle. And it's just a mild acid that will clean your metal just before you solder it. And you'll learn more about that when you watch the soldering video in the first soldering assignment, which is in conjunction with your next assignment after your quarter. But the reason why we use the copper tongs, and that's these right here sitting next to them, is copper doesn't react with the acid that's in here. And if we use steel, it can create a toxic gas. And toxic gases typically aren't very good. Alright, the next thing. What's the safest way to avoid being burned by friction heat when using the buffer? So right over here we have the buffer, and this thing's spinning like crazy. You don't want to get your hands burned by the friction, so right over here, in here, there is several of these clamps. Okay, I'll show you how to use them, but these are fantastic, and they make it so that your hands don't get burned when you're holding the metal. It's great. Okay, so use a clamp. Alright, next question. What's the only part of the disc sander that should be used? So the disc sander is this right here. Okay, and this will spin this direction. Alright, now if you put material here and it slips out of your hand, it flies in that direction, and maybe there's somebody standing right here that you don't want to hurt. So the downside is the right answer, or the left side. Let's see, the side moving downwards. So right here is where you're going to put all your material when you're using a disc sander. That's important. It kind of holds it down too, because the sander's moving down, and it keeps your metal up against the table here, and it works great. Alright, next question. What section of the buffer wheel should you be using? Well, let's take a look at it. I'm going to flip it around here real quick. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is going to spin this direction, just like that. Okay, so the right answer is the front lower quadrant. So if you're to split this into fourths, okay, you're supposed to have your metal only touching right here. The reason why is because if you have it up here and it slips out of your hand, it comes out towards you, and it can move pretty fast. So down here, if it slips out of your hands, it comes down in here and gets caught, and it doesn't fly around anywhere, and you don't lose it. Okay, so front left quadrant. All right. The next one. What is the first thing you should do with your material before drilling it on the drill press? Okay, this is a drill press, and this is one of them. Another one I will show you real quick is these guys. These guys work with the flex shafts, but the principle is the same. This one's not hooked up. This one is. Okay, got the motor head right here. More on that later. Right now it's just safety, but I wanted to show you those tools. Okay, so right here, this one's just a little bigger, so it's easier to show. So right here, so I've got my quarter here. I'd put a drill bit right in here, and this is kind of your hint right here. This is a clamp. It's a big C clamp. You wanna make sure that your material that you want to drill is clamped down, because it's not always nice and smooth like a quarter is on the edges. Sometimes you've got sharp edges, and if the drill bit gets bound up in the metal, your material starts to spin, and that can be a sharp thing that your fingers would be holding on to. So clamp your material down, okay? Alright, next question. Let's see, we're on number, let's see here, 13 is the next one. What's the most important reason for lowering the drill bit slowly when using the drill press? So what I mean by that is right here, this knob, or you saw me use the other ones, you're going to move this down slow. Okay, if you go fast, there could be too much pressure placed on the drill bit, and it will break and fly in some weird direction. It could hit somebody, could hurt somebody. So you don't want to do that. You want to go slow. You never want to force anything really anywhere in this room or any of the tools you're using. All right, next question, number 14. What do we do with long hair and loose clothes and jewelry, lanyards, that sort of stuff? You have to secure them, pull them back, okay? Make it so that nothing gets caught in anything electric. We talked about the hazards of getting your hair caught in the buffer, okay? It will rip the scalp right off your head. Don't do that, okay? I try and make that as obvious as possible. Usually I throw in bald jokes, but I'll spare you. All right. Okay, number 15. What is the general rule for wearing safety glasses in the jewelry classroom whenever you're using a torch or whenever you're using some tool that's electric? Okay? And you all have your own, so make sure you're using them and that you're taking them with you every day so that you have them and you're prepared for them in class. All right? Number 16, if you get something in your eye, please tell me, or the sub, and come over to the sink and wash your eyes out gently, okay? Let's see here. Number 17, why do we put something cool on a burn? Well, it's to pull the heat out of the burn so that the heat quits burning you. Okay? Number 18, who is the only person authorized to use a torch, or to light the torch, excuse me. So a torch, sometimes they don't light, like we just talked about. And if they don't light, and you're like, Mr. Hilliard, come and help me, I need to know how to light this. So if I light it, and if I hand it to you, then maybe you dropped it, or maybe something that's it lands in your lap, and it's on, it burns you, that's really bad. So the only person that's authorized to light a torch is the person using it, okay? If you're the one using it, then you're the one that lights it. Your buddy can't light it for you and then hand it to you. That is dangerous, okay? And lastly, the most important rule for other people's projects and to be respectful in the space, if you touch anything in the ceramics areas of our classroom, that is the wheel area over there, okay, across the countertops, you know, oh, maybe your thing just came out of the kiln because you're in ceramics and you're really excited to see it, or maybe you've got something on these carts, somebody else will have stuff on those carts, and you want to make sure that you don't touch those. If you do, it's an automatic U. That's the answer to that question. If there's ever any carts that are in the way, please don't move them. Let me move them, or I will tell Miss Swan if they seem a little suspect or a little fragile. Anyway, I miss you guys. I wish you were here. I'd much rather talk to your face than to this camera. Anyway, good luck with the test. And oh, and by the way, you need to have 100% to pass. So you can take this test, this quiz, as many times as you need. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me however you like. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.